Hello, everybody. Excited Utterance here. My name's Hella, and it's good to see everybody here. Wow, hello. Hey, Flash fan. Hey, you. How are you today? I'm pretty good. Not bad. Just came over from Dali's stream. Ali Abulaban is a bit of an idiot. That's putting it mildly. Yeah, he had to get up on the stand. What a dickhead. Hey, Christine. Good to see you. You are early. You have to be first, don't you? I love it how you are first. I love it how you're first. Nikki. Hey, Nikki. Good to see you, love. Wow. Great to see you. Can't stay. Just want to say hi. Well, hi to you. Lovely to see you. And thank you for the view. And John. John, you're awesome. Hey, hey. Dali Raid. Love you, love you, love you. My bestie. Half Irish. You're great. You are great. You're family. You are family. And Ronnie, you're family too. And I'm bronzed. Of course you're family, even though you're from Tasmania. Also, I think today is a State of Origin Day. And even though you're in Tasmania now, you are actually a Queenslander. So go the Maroons. Go the Maroons. It is State of Origin Day. That is, for those who aren't aware, which is probably most people, it's a big football day here. So Queensland versus New South Wales. And if you've ever watched Bluey, there is an episode called Football, I think. And the neighbours and Bluey's family, they watch the football, and there is a blue team and a maroon team. And the undertone to the episode is actually about divorce or separation, because the mum of the neighbours is next door, and she's from New South Wales. She's a blue team. And then the dad is on the maroon team, and the kids have to decide which team that they go for. So it's really cute. Really, really cute. Hello, Mona. How are you? Yeah, it's rugby league. Yeah, so it's football. It is football. Queenslanders maroon. That's right. I need to get into that case. It'll be a distraction from the case I'm watching. I'm currently watching Jeffrey Dahmer trial. Well, that one's full on, but it's a great one. It's a great one. Not exactly much reasonable doubt. Although they did try for not guilty by reason of insanity, which there could be something to be said for whether he was insane. But yeah, a long trial too. Okay, so who are we supposed to cheer for? We're supposed to cheer for the Maroons. That's Queensland, because we're Queenslanders. Queenslander. Okay, hey Josie, how are you? So with State of Origin, wherever you were born, no matter where you are, wherever you end up, you always go back to your state of origin. So you always barrack for your team from your state. Now, I'm a Queenslander. I'm bronze as a Queenslander. So no matter what, we are Maroons. We are Queenslanders. Go Queenslander. That's it. That's how it goes. Dharma is a long trial. Yeah, I thought Dharma was quite a while. I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks or something like that from memory. Anyways, so today. So yesterday we didn't get quite through the direct on the state's witness, who was a juniorish detective. We're going to find out how junior he is today, because Mr. Baez is going to get straight into discrediting him by letting us all know just how little experience the detective has. And then Mr. Baez is going to get right into his dissecting and slicing and dicing of the text messages and the other exhibits that were put forth on direct with this detective. So it's going to be fun. We get to watch Mr. Baez in action, full form. So we're just going to finish off the direct, which is about 8 or something minutes. There are some text messages that relate to some PR firm, I believe. So we'll have a little bit of a look at that. So we'll just finish that off, and then we'll get into Mr. Baez, Jose Baez, on cross-examination, and we'll see if Dali wets himself, because he just might. Is this going to trial? Oh yeah, this one's going to trial. All right, it's a death penalty case. So Shanna Gardner is being charged with first-degree intentional homicide for allegedly ordering a hit on her ex-husband, who is Jared Bridegan, in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, in fact. And she's not the only one. Her husband, Mario Fernandez, is also being charged with the same thing. And someone else has already gone down for the murder, and that is the alleged hitman, Henry Tenon. But he's taking a plea deal to testify against them. So I'm sure he's not getting the death penalty, assuming that he says the right things in court. Yes. Now, she's also extremely rich. She is the heiress to the Stampin Up fortune. So that's a big company. And she has her own fortunes as well. So she can afford the many zeros that go on the check to Mr. Baez. And also, as Steve Gosney was saying in chat yesterday, there's another incredible defense attorney on the team for her, and that is Rosemary Peoples. And Steve said that she is the best defense attorney he's ever been around. So there you go. She is on the team for Shanna Gardner. Can't wait to see her in action too. So let's go, guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. So this is where we got up to yesterday, approximately.
Over by Intrepid PR Group.
Yes.
Okay, and this highlighted number, does that phone number belong to the associate of the Intrepid PR Group?
Yes.
I haven't decided yet. I think it'll be a little bit away, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Was there one person who was willing to speak to you when you went to Utah?
There was.
And without using her name, can you describe who she is?
She was a junior level social media manager at the PR firm.
And she no longer worked for them when you made your trip to Utah?
That's correct.
What did she tell you about the contact between Intrepid Group and their other PR associates at the time and Ms. Gardner on this date?
As soon as Ms. Gardner found out that their tenant had been arrested, she, her words, frantically was trying to reach someone with Intrepid. She couldn't get a hold of anyone else just due to the time difference was very early in the morning. However, this social media person answered her phone and started taking down notes to give to the response later on.
What did she say Ms. Gardner relayed to her?
That their tenant had been arrested and that tenant owned the truck that the police were looking for.
Moving further in the state's composite exhibit 11, these are text messages with the Intrepid PR Group. These individuals are employees of that group, correct?
That's correct.
And this is dated August 18, 2022, the date of Henry Tenon's arrest on driving unsuspended license, habitual charges. We see here, is this green? That is Mr. Thomas, who is the lead on her case.
Correct.
Okay. And he said he spoke with Shanna. There were interesting developments in her case. And then moving on, ignore the language, but the last text message is August 24, 2022. Can you describe for the court what your investigation uncovered as to Mr. Thomas's knowledge regarding the charges?
Just that they weren't sure what the charges were, but it seemed to be unrelated to the truck or anything to do with Jared.
And again, at the time these messages are being sent, nobody other than the people who hired Henry Tenon would know of his existence as a link to the murder of Jared Bridegan.
Correct.
Other than Jackson's police. In the court's binder of exhibits, State's Exhibit 13 is a business record showing the authenticity of Apple records received. Did you receive evidence related to an iCloud belonging to Shanna Gardner?
Yes,
And in particular, were you looking for evidence in that cloud relevant to a Ring camera that Ms. Gardner and Mr. Fernandez Saldana had on the front of their house?
yes, the Ring camera was located outside their front door. The day after detectives went and notified them of Mr. Bridegan's death, they asked to see or if the Ring camera had picked up anyone who might have passed by the residence. Ms. Gardner showed the Ring app to the detective, and there were no recordings past the 16th.
When you received the iCloud return of Ring footage, was there anything significant to you about what was or was not there?
On the iCloud were recordings from the Ring camera that we could also tell basically that the camera settings were to constantly record.
Howdy.
There were videos on that showed both vehicles passing by their residence as well as customers coming to pick up orders or Mr. Fernandez putting an order outside their door. These were all things that would have been, it appeared would have always been picked up by the Ring camera. However, on the night of the homicide, there was no activity on the Ring camera, at least in the app, indicating that it was likely that the information was either deleted or the camera was set to not record.
And
Okay.
you know that because what did AB and LB told you, or what did they tell you about how they entered the house that night, the night of homicide?
They indicated that they would typically go through the garage, however the garage door was closed, so they used the keypad on the front door, which would have been captured on the Ring camera.
So based on what they told you, did you expect to see at least, at minimum, a Ring footage video of AB and LB entering the home minutes before Jared Bridegan was killed on the night of homicide?
Based upon the past history that was located on the iCloud, we expected to find them entering the residence as well as Jared's vehicle passing by the camera.
And there was no footage of this then?
That's correct.
Why
In
would
fact,
they
on
try
this
to
text
hide
message
him
on August
dropping the kids
22nd,
off?
2022, which is around the same time period Ms. Gardner was speaking to her PR firm about potential charges against her Tenon. Do she and Kim Jensen have a discussion about Ring footage?
Yes, I sent a subpoena to Ring, which they were nice enough to forward to Mr. Fernandez and Gardner.
So Ring was not
Makes
supposed to do
sense.
that. I'm presuming.
No,
And so she is discussing, in this particular time in the investigation, which is significant to you, she and Ms. Jensen are discussing that Ring subpoena, and if they have it, they give them video.
correct. In fact, there's actually a certain where it wasn't a subpoena. They referred to it as a subpoena.
And then State's Exhibit 14, this is a text with Ms. Jensen also regarding the cloud. And can you describe to the court what the significance of these texts are? This is September 2022.
This is Ms. Jensen basically asking Shanna, or talking to Shanna about whether or not she still has her old additional cell phone. And then they were basically stating that without her creating a new cloud ID, all of her data would just essentially be backed up to the secondary cell phone, which would defeat the purpose of having a second phone.
And Ms. Jensen makes a comment, I was thinking about that damn cloud.
Correct.
When you received, most of the evidence that we've discussed in this hearing came from the cell phone of Kim Jensen.
That's correct.
Did you do examinations of cell phones, devices, clouds, returns for Shanna Gardner?
Yes, we did. We did cell phone downloads as well as Google and iCloud search warrants.
In the returns of those items, devices, and returns, did you find the same conversations that you had found on Ms. Jensen's phone?
Some of the conversations were there, but a lot of the conversations were not.
So like the Ring cloud, I'm sorry, the cloud of the Ring footage, you were expecting to see evidence that was not present on Ms. Gardner's.
That was like the longest Junior's ever sat on my lap.
Henry Tenon was eventually arrested and charged with murder of Jared Bridegan.
Thank you so much.
And do you recall
Thank you,
the
Josie.
date on which that occurred, or the time period in which that occurred?
Early January 2023.
Leading up to the arrest of Henry Tenon, were there investigative techniques being pursued by the Jacksonville Beach Police Department?
Yes, during the time that we knew we were going to announce the charges against Tenon, we had also received a court order for a wire intercept.
And a wire intercept to intercept phone, text, and audio communication between Ms. Gardner and Mr. Fernandez Saldana and other individuals of interest.
That's correct.
And that court order was an application and a judgment for that.
That's correct.
In order to get chatter
YouTube can't see it. Should we pull it up or ignore it?
What the phrase trigger.
I think you got a fan
We
cell.
decided to go ahead and have the wire
Are you
in
talking
place
about me or
before
Hella?
the charges were announced against Mr. Tenon. We did that, and then we made
I know
an
he's very
announcement about the arrest
sexy.
or the additional charges that have been added.
Is this
And
John?
before you made the announcement about Henry Tenon's arrest.
It's on
did you
Twitch.
purposely leak information
I know,
to
I'm
the media that a break or an arrest was imminent?
Yes,
Nice to have you
And-
here.
Did the media run with that information?
yes.
Did you say who was going to be arrested?
Oh, God.
So the information was just
Jesus,
that an arrest or a
gross.
break was coming.
That's correct.
And Your Honor, the state has moved into evidence 15, 16, and 17, which are wired recording calls of Ms. Gardner from the wiretap. For time's sake, I'm not going to play the entire calls, I'm just a detective testified on portions. Beginning with call 170, which is state's exhibit 15. What was one of the first calls that Shanna Gardner made after this leak was out and being publicized?
She was speaking with Ms. Jensen, wondering if she should give Mario a heads up about the information.
And do you remember specifically in greater detail kind of how it was that she learned of the leak and what her reaction was?
I actually don't remember actually.
Did she describe to Ms. Jensen how she was going to give Mario a heads up or a warning that a big break was coming?
She talked about actually using her neighbor's phone in order to call Mario to give him information about it.
And that neighbor would be Marla Rogers.
That's correct.
During the entirety of the wiretap, was this a common theme that Ms. Gardner and Ms. Jensen discussed that their phones might be monitored?
Yes, that's correct. She made statements about the fact that she was warned that her phone was likely tapped.
And that was January 23rd, 2023. We're going to move on to a few days later when the arrest of Henry Tenon as the person responsible for the death of Jared Bridegan, at least responsible for the actual pulling the trigger, is released. I want to discuss a phone call that Ms. Gardner made to her public relations firm on 1/25/2023. And I've included a portion of the transcript that the monitor.
Well, I mean,
used
she
here.
was right.
This
She
what
was
was
being
significant to you
wiretapped.
about this conversation.
She said that she admitted to knowing Henry, that she had met him approximately 5 years ago, but there should be no paperwork tying him to the rental property.
At the time that she made this call, the media, did a good job. They covered this fairly quickly, but at the time she made this call, had the media yet reported that Henry Tenon was linked to Mario Fernandez Saldana?
No,
At the time she made this call, had the media reported that Henry Tenon was a tenant to Mario Fernandez Saldana and Shanna Gardner's LLC?
no.
So in this call, she's telling them that Henry Tenon, the person under arrest, is in fact a tenant, but there's no paperwork or payments attaching him.
Correct.
What was the reaction of the individuals with Intrepid PR Group?
Their initial reaction was, well, that must have been a long time ago, right? Like you didn't, this was not a recent payment or anything like that. However, Ms. Gardner went on to tell them, in fact, that they had given him money earlier in the year. At that point, they basically told her that they should probably stop communicating about this.
So she advised the public relations firm that she and Mario Fernandez Saldana had paid Henry Tenon money for a pallet business within the past year.
Correct.
We discussed a call also made that day. I have the time.
What if that's
noted about
true?
here. It was at 17:27 on 1/25/23 between Ms. Gardner and Ms. Jensen. And
Oh,
was there
thank you,
another call where she
Flashman.
discussed Henry Tenon and monetary payment she made with Ms. Jensen?
Aren't you awesome?
Yeah, was essentially about whether they were was Tenon going to use that information against them to garner a better deal or throw them under the bus or twist them as being involved in this.
Throughout the course of the wiretap, Ms. Gardner, and here again they're referencing that she might reactivate her other one. Where there's discussion amongst them about using other devices, platforms, phones, etc.
This.
Ms. Gardner and Ms. Jensen would frequently talk about whether they could use FaceTime or other applications that were encrypted to communicate so that they could not be intercepted by law enforcement.
Not to give away state secrets, but can you evade a law enforcement interception by using other platforms
Oh,
and devices?
yeah.
Yes, you can.
How do you do
The last thing I want
that?
to talk about is some of Ms. Gardner's activities following the arrest of Mario Fernandez Saldana, which came
You're awesome. Thank
March
you.
2023 after Henry Tenon gave testimony against him. Was Ms. Gardner living in Florida during the wiretap?
Yes. Or no, excuse me, she was in Washington State.
And how did you find out that Ms. Gardner had moved from Jacksonville, Florida to Washington State?
U.S. Postal Inspector.
After Mario Fernandez Saldana was arrested for the murder of Jared Bridegan, conspiracy and solicitation and child abuse, did Ms. Gardner remain in Washington State?
No, there was a 5-month period where she was not with her children and she was moving around,
And how did you determine that?
mostly through cell site records.
Where did you determine that she was living?
Appeared she had rented an Airbnb in Tallahassee for a while, and then
Hello.
at some point had moved on to Savannah.
And during this time,
Wow.
she was using a secondary phone or a different phone number than the one you had associated to her.
That's correct. She had activated the day that she flew from Washington to Tallahassee. She had reactivated her burner phone.
Okay, I just want to pause it because there's something interesting testimony coming up. But I wanted to thank you, Emu Warrior, for your support. Remember, for 5 months, that's a long time. In fact, that means you're an OG, because I think the memberships have only been going for 5 months. I know that Dali is a member for 5 months. Yep. So that would be about right. You're an OG. Thank you, Emu Warrior. That is so nice of you for maintaining a membership. Memberships keep this channel absolutely going. There is no question about it. And yeah, don't make much money on here, just enough to pay like my utility bill.
Yeah.
And that's all I really want. And it's awesome. And I really appreciate those of you who help out with that. So thank you so much. And yeah, g'day from Melbourne. Go Queensland. Oh, thank you for supporting Queensland. Go the Maroons. Love ya. I love having my Aussies around here. Oh, yeah, and you're an OG as well. Absolutely, you're an OG. Definitely an OG. Okay, so this bit here about the burner phone.
A quote unquote burner phone, where did that quote come from?
When officers went to Washington to serve a search warrant, one of her children asked if we were looking for mommy's burner phone.
Kids were asking about the burner phone.
Obviously, this
Okay, great.
Did have several phones and phone numbers during the time frame investigation prior to her arrest. And your team effectuated arrest on her in August of 2023 in West Richland, Washington.
That's correct.
Why did you all make the decision to effectuate an arrest on her rather than allowing her to turn herself in?
I'll tell you in a sec, Nikki.
We wanted to make sure that she did not attempt to flee. Her parents had several assets, and it would be very easy, given her geographic position, to get on a private jet and fly there.
When you did research into the financials of her home in West Richland, Washington, who bought that home and who paid for it?
It was purchased by an LLC that is owned by her parents.
Detective Johns, I have one on here.
Yes.
Detective Johns, I'm winding down. I just want to summarize the main points of your testimony that I think are important for the court to consider. One being, where did the money that was paid to Henry Tenon to kill Jared Bridegan come from?
The money came from the trust that was established by Mr. and Mrs. Gardner.
And was that trust held in the name of Shanna Gardner?
No.
Hey,
Well,
Melissa.
The trust itself was named the Shanna Gardner Irrevocable Trust, yes.
Hey.
And the funds from the Shanna Gardner Revocable Trust that paid Henry Tenon were moved from the trust into First Choice Home Rentals LLC.
Okay, so
The owners of the LLC are who?
Shanna Gardner
The owners of the LLC are.
and
Shanna
her
Gardner and
husband
Um,
allegedly
Detective Johns.
paid
your
for a
entire
hit
investigation, was
on
there
her
any LLC
ex-husband,
uncovered
Jared
with a
Bridegan.
motive of such depth and breadth as that of Ms. Gardner to have Jared Bridegan killed?
No.
And in your investigation,
She has a bunch of money.
all these trail of individuals and text messages in which Ms. Gardner
And
cited, encouraged, solicited, and asked other
therefore
individuals,
has hired
to
awesome
help
attorneys,
find
and we're about to
the
watch
pictures
one of
and
them
achieve this task.
Scrapbook.
do the
And Ms. Gardner, again, never
Do the cross
mentioned
on
any
this
of
guy.
information to you when you interviewed her as a witness looking for helpful information in this case.
That's correct. You never mentioned anything.
And she never came forward, even over time, as all of these other events unfolded, including Mario's Fernandez Saldana's unexplained trip up north, the arrest of Henry Tenon, her move to Washington, or her moves to Tallahassee and Savannah.
Correct.
At this time, I have no further questions.
All right, we're going to take a 15-minute recess.
all right. Nice seal.
They should have Florida Man for the seal. Like a guy with no shirt and a Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yo, Anyway. Oh, hang on. Come on.
So I'm gonna bounce around. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Came back. I've been in patrol.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes, you did feel me then. All right.
Sir, do you see the lubricant I put in front of
Captain.
you?
Oh, look! We got another 5 months
I
off.
have the benefit of knowing what you were gonna say, so I'm gonna
Love
bounce
you,
around,
and
okay?
bros.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, first let me start
Wait. Okay. And just like that, 5 awesome months later, we love you, unbronzed, even though you're a Tasmanian. Knew you well before that and know for sure that you're actually a Queenslander. Go Queenslander. Love you. Mwah. Watching trials like this makes me think twice about trusting the ogre I call my husband. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The hitman must testify, or I'm sure that he will get his original sentence, which goodness knows what that was. But pretty sure that whatever his sentence was, it will be much worse if he does not testify and testify exactly the way he said he would. Yes, for sure.
Boy, it just got hot in here.
Just got hot in here. Oh, you getting all
Hot and bothered?
all ricatery?
Are
you? Okay, keep your hands. Wash your hands. Don't you do that on my stream. No. You behave.
Some of the
I'll go disappear for 45 minutes and come back with powder on my nose.
This case, at the time of the murder, you had only been a police officer for 3.5 years.
Correct.
So you went to the police academy.
Correct.
And then
Feels like
field training.
longer.
Correct.
How long did you do field training?
Thank you, Half
16
Irish,
weeks.
sticking around for
16
5
weeks.
months. We
Okay,
love
so
you.
for about half the year, you were basically training, correct?
Correct.
How long were you on patrol?
So I previously worked for the police department for 10 months. I left for a few years.
Nick.
Came back. I've been in patrol for 3 of those years. And I also served as a crime scene technician at part of that time as well.
Okay. So on this go round, how long were you on patrol?
About 3 years.
Okay. So you were a relatively new detective in this case?
Yes, sir.
Came to you? Okay. Was this your first homicide investigation?
It was.
He's
Not
got
as
a
a crime
Red
scene
Bull
technician,
there.
but as a detective, yes.
Okay. So what a homicide case to be your first, right? Quite a lot of attention.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of attention comes with some pressure, right?
Yes.
Pressure
This
to
was
do the
his
job
first
right.
case?
Yep.
They gave him this case for his first one?
And
You couldn't
he
do some
points it out.
Florida. You couldn't do some Florida man gets into a fight over an iguana murder case?
Sorry, Mr. Wise.
Pressure to do the job right.
Of course.
Okay. And of course, that's what you want.
Jose's gonna
That's
drive
correct.
a truck. For
So,
that.
sir, I want to kind of go back and let's start with your testimony about the divorce between Jared Bridegan and Shanna Gardner.
Sure.
Now, you know, of course, when you testified that it was a acrimonious divorce, correct?
Correct.
And that a majority of the issues that they had between the two of them were child custody issues, correct?
That's correct.
As part of your job and part of the investigation, it would have been for you to not just take people's words for it, but to actually check the docket of the cases that were involved between Jared Bridegan and Shanna Gardner, correct?
I would say that's true, but in this case, that's language coming directly from the defendant.
Okay. But of course, you would verify that, right?
In this case, I didn't feel that I needed to verify words that I'm using that she stated. But yes, they were verified.
Okay. And who verified them? You.
I did not know.
I know.
But as this being your case, of course, the information came to you.
He's gonna have
Yes.
a field day
And you
trial.
relied on your testimony based on all the information that you gathered, correct?
Correct.
Some of
Just
which you
imagine
did,
him
some of which you
playing
did
it
not
up
do,
in front of
correct?
a
That's
jury.
fair, yes.
Okay, so, sir, are you aware, in fact, that a majority of the issues, well, if not all the issues, revolved around money
No, that guy might
and
still
not
be
child
watching.
custody, as you testified?
I have not read all of the arguments or motions that were filed in their case. I'm solely going off of what I learned during interviews.
So, tell me if you take issue with what I'm about to tell you. You're aware that Shanna filed for divorce in February of 2015, correct?
Correct, yes.
And In fact, it was resolved on July of 15 that same year, correct?
That's correct.
So it's quite a quickie divorce, wouldn't you say?
A quickie divorce.
I'm not sure. I don't.
You've
I
never,
don't have a lot of experience in how long divorce proceedings typically take.
you've never had the pleasure of being divorced.
I didn't say that. I said I'm a family law person. I don't know how long it takes.
Okay, but you would agree, you wouldn't characterize 5 months as a long divorce.
It would appear. I would assume it's fairly typical.
And as included in that agreement was
Still
of course, the
charming.
parenting agreement, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
As well as custody, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, and the first issue that occurred was in January of 16, when Shanna Gardner asked for child support against Jared Bridegan, correct?
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, well, you're also aware that Jared Bridegan moved to Utah in November of 2015, correct?
That's correct.
And he got a job over there, correct?
That is correct.
And it's when he was working and away from the, well, let me clarify that. Shanna Gardner stayed in Jacksonville with the children, correct?
She did, yes.
Okay, and Jared goes away to Utah, he gets a job there, and then she files asking for child support, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
And are you aware that he objected to paying child support and then moved back to Florida so he didn't have to pay child support?
Yes, sir. In fact, Ms. Gardner made a statement during an interview with her that she was calling his bluff to see if he would pay the child support or come back.
Okay, and then ultimately on September of 2017, the court ordered him to pay $1,000 a month child support, correct?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now, subsequent to that, in January of 18, Jared filed against Shanna a petition on an issue dealing with the fact that he was paying more for health insurance for the children, correct?
Okay.
And at that point, sir, he was granted relief and his child support was reduced $65 a month. Were you aware of that?
No, it was not.
Okay. Now, subsequent to that, on February of 19, Jared filed for a modification of child support, claiming that Ms. Gardner had rental property income, so therefore she's making more money, he should pay less. Are you aware of that?
No, it was not.
Okay. So you're not aware that he's 2 weeks later subsequently dismissed it upon finding out that there were no rental properties?
The only thing I know of their proceedings, or as far as other than the dockets, are what was told to me, mostly by Mrs. Gardner.
Okay, my question is are you aware of that?
That it was dismissed?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Then, are you aware that in April of 2019, Jared Bridegan objected to having the children in, I guess, a discovery school that was right behind Ms. Gardner's house?
Yes, sir. I am aware of that.
Okay. And this is a private school, right?
That's correct.
And the person paying for this private school is Shanna Gardner, correct?
I believe it was coming from the trust.
But ultimately, she's paying for it, right?
I mean, ultimately, Mark Fernandez was paying for it.
Let me rephrase that. Mr. Bridegan was not paying for it, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So now, and are you aware that that was ultimately resolved in August of 2019, where after having the child support reduced $65 a month, Shanna Gardner waived Jared Bridegan from having to pay any child support in exchange for them to just stay at that school?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Okay. And then the last dispute was in June of 2021 over the fact that there was an oxygen machine for one of the children that was in Mr. Bridegan's home, correct? You're aware of the issue with the oxygen machine?
There was an issue between where one of them had an oxygen machine. They did not want to let the other one use it, so then the other one went and bought a better oxygen machine, and then there was some dispute over if that could be used by both parties.
Okay.
Now, I don't know anything more than that, though.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you aware that the dispute was because Jared Bridegan did not want Ms. Gardner to have access to the oxygen machine while they went on vacation with the children?
I don't know the details of everything to do with the oxygen machine.
Why would he not want Kid
It was
have
my
access
understanding
to
that it had something to do with the fact that Mr. Bridegan wanted to use an oxygen machine that had been purchased by Mrs. Gardner. She said no. He purchased as it was explained to me, a better oxygen machine that then Ms. Gardner wanted to use because it was a better machine. But Mr. Bridegan did not want her to use it because she already had one of her own, and but that is the extent of what I know about the oxygen machine.
But you were aware that Ms. Gardner helped pay for that oxygen machine that was kept at Mr.
I don't know the details of the payment of it.
So when you verified and checked the docket sheet of the court, did you see the court order that required Jared Bridegan to pay Ms. Shanna Gardner $571 so that he could have sole possession of the oxygen machine and not have to lend it to Ms. Gardner?
No.
So none of these issues have to do with, oh, well, let me ask you this. You're aware that there are no further litigation going on in this divorce other than what we just covered, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, and it's fair to say that out of all of these things, none have to do with sharing custody with these children between Shanna Gardner and Jared Bridegan.
Correct. None of the things you mentioned have to do with custody.
And none of the things in the court docket say so either, correct?
I've not reviewed the court document.
But as a team of law enforcement detectives, you guys did that, correct?
That was done correct.
Now, and I'm sure if I'm wrong, Ms. Stifler will
Sure.
correct.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you testified about this rental property that Mr. Tenon lived in, correct?
That's correct.
And I circled or I quoted you when you said their rental property, correct?
Correct.
And when you say their, you're talking about Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez, correct?
That's correct.
Now, you're aware that Mario Fernandez owned that property before ever marrying Shanna Gardner?
Yes. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So that would make it his property, correct?
I don't know the terms of their marriage or what they decided to move into the LLC that they created to manage.
Do you
their
know
own-
anything?
Well, you would agree, sir, that if you own something before you get married, that is not marital property, correct?
I'm not a law expert in family law.
All right. Now, before we get to Mr. Tenon, I want to talk about some of these text messages. You're aware that these text messages are, a majority of the text messages, and all of the text messages having to do with the Hitman, are way back into 2015 and 16, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, all of the witnesses who told you about these alleged statements made by Ms. Gardner were referring back to 2015 up to 17, correct?
That's correct.
So fair to say too, that was when the tension between Ms. Gardner and Mr. Bridegan were at its peak, correct?
I can't speak to her state of mind.
But based on what you saw from the text messages, from the investigation, all the people you talked to, it was pretty bad early on, right?
I would assume that would be true, but I would also argue that there are sprinkles of comments made throughout the entire time period that would indicate that she had issue with sharing custody with Mr. Bridegan, or that there were things that she would be frustrated over.
Okay, I like your word, sprinkles, so I'm gonna use that, okay?
Sprinkle. You're going to
so-
take his word.
Sprinkles are, of course, her frustrations between the drop-off schedules, different minor mundane things like that, correct? Things that they were,
It was typically custody issues,
well,
dropping the kids
more
off,
like, more like,
changing dates that they would have the visitation, where they were going to go to school, what date, who would drop them off, who would pick them up, vacations, things like that, which I would consider custody issues.
okay, so would you mind if I correct you and talk about our more visitation issues than custody issues, right?
That's fair.
Okay, so, now, you would agree that, as a detective, you come across all kinds of people, right?
Yes.
People who are highly educated, right?
Yes.
People who aren't as much educated as well, correct?
That's true.
People from different hoods, right?
Yes.
People with different upbringing, correct? How much exposure have you had to folks from the Mormon faith?
I went to high school with some people who were Mormon, but I am not an expert in their culture.
Okay, so the extent of your exposure to that culture is that you went to high school with a couple of Mormons.
Correct.
I had the hots for Jody Arias.
no.
Does that count?
Also, some people, you mentioned that Shanna Gardner and KJ were very close, correct?
Yes,
And in fact, they talked about everything, right?
correct.
And a lot of joking going on between the two of them, from what you can see.
Yes,
Okay, and it's also fair to say that they spoke about killing quite loosely and jokingly, correct?
only when it came to Jared Bridegan.
Okay. Okay.
And nothing ever came of it. And it was 6 years earlier.
It'll be defense 6, right? Have you shown it to the?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
no objection. All right, that'll be defense 6. What is it?
A series of text messages.
Okay.
Okay, I'm showing you defendant 6, Detective Johns. May I have first witness?
Yes.
Oh, he's got more text messages.
All right, so let's go over these, because you said they talked about killing only during Jared. This is a text message from KJ saying, sure do love all the hours I spent on the phone just to find out, well, excuse me, that's the message of the body. Just to find out one of the children's meds are now $300 a month, and that brand of nose spray isn't covered at all. Hashtag, I might kill people today. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then you see another text message, record 603, where it says, so help me if I get there at 8 on Monday and I get turned away, or it doesn't happen, or I have to wait longer than an hour. I might kill someone. See that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Not talking about Jared Bridegan, right?
I don't know that.
Okay. You don't know, what about the one ahead of it, having to deal with the meds? Are they talking about Jared Bridegan?
I don't know. I don't know
Oh,
who she's referring
maybe
to.
they are.
She's talking about meds, correct?
She's frustrated over medication, it would appear.
Costing so much, right?
Correct.
Okay, we'll go to the third
Does
one.
he run a pharmacy?
No worries, I'm trying not to kill the little shit. You believe, based on looking at the body of these text messages, that they were talking about Jared Bridegan.
She might have called him that.
Well, you know that she called him stupid, right?
Yes.
You know they both called him stupid, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's how they referred to him. And you also know the context of these messages had to do with the child,
Please.
correct?
That's correct.
Now, nobody killed the little shit, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so in addition to that, the next text message says, I need a break from my kids, like I'm ready to kill them. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not dealing with Jared Bridegan, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's quite loosely spoken, correct?
Correct.
Now, everything, I guess it's fair to say, from numerous witnesses, many people told you that Shanna Gardner was an incredibly dedicated mother and loved her children, correct?
Yes.
And that her children meant the world to her.
Yes.
Correct? Now let's go to the next page.
She literally said she wants to kill her kids, and he's
I'm out of data,
reason
still no internet, TV, and Wi-Fi. I'm downloading at reverse turtle speed. I'm assuming it's the kids and how school ready they look today. Call me after work. I need to get you filmed for Amy's video. If I can see you today in person, I can FT you, FaceTime you, and have Brad film that. We didn't go to the video, we didn't do the video on the phone, we used a real camera. So I have to figure out the splicing. I'm on hold with T-Mobile trying to get my data back from the hurricane. This is crazy. Comcast is saying they hope I have service tomorrow. I'll have killed someone by then. See that?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next message says, could kill Enterprise. They are 30 minutes late. I call, she's like, all right, someone is on their way. Freaking kidding me? You see that?
Yes.
They're
Jared
just
didn't
gonna
work
kill
for
everyone.
Enterprise rent a car, did he?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
They're so
And this obviously has
murderous.
nothing to do with Jared Bridegan, right?
Correct.
So I would agree, it might be unusual to use that word often, but they in fact did use those words often, correct?
Yes, I think she did use it in her hyperbole at times.
And that's a lot of how Shanna Gardner speaks from the messages you reviewed, correct?
I don't know. Unbroken.
Did not review every single message she ever wrote. However, I would argue that the frequency in which she spoke about Jared was much different than the one-off messages that you've indicated here.
Prefacing your testimony with you haven't reviewed all the messages, correct?
Not in her entire phone.
just during the time period.
Look,
Now-
I mean, I don't know, Ambrose. Some people communicate in different ways, and
Yeah.
I don't like the way she's talking. Don't get me wrong, I don't
No.
like the way she's talking. I think I'm gonna kill the little shit and stuff like that is pretty
A little
crappy
far.
way to talk. But I don't think that means she's actually gonna kill him.
And I like how Baez is like justifying it and making it sound like, oh, she just says it's about everyone when she's stressed.
Yeah, this is just her. This is
Yeah.
and don't get me like I don't know at the moment. I'm completely open-minded to whether she did this or didn't do it. I have no clue whether or not she's guilty. I'm kind of erring towards guilty at the moment. It's not looking too good for her.
Yeah.
But that said, I don't know. Like I think some people just say shit like, I'm gonna kill him. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill. Like some people say stuff like that, and it doesn't sound good. It just
But that's
I
just
think
how they
some people
talk.
say it. Yeah. And it's dumb.
It's a verbal
Especially in messages.
tick. Yeah, it's just like a verbal tick or whatever, like a crutch you use. It's just how you talk. It doesn't sound good, but it doesn't mean you have intent.
And those of us who watch trials and stuff know better
Yes.
than to
And
put it
we
in messages.
We see how it's so easily taken out of context.
Yep.
But
not even just trials and stuff. Those of us who watch YouTube live streams with people creating drama know that if you text message somebody, screenshots could end up all over people's streams. Nick.
Aussie. Shanny.
Stop it.
I'm just
Stop
saying,
now.
like, okay, I'm just saying, yeah, stuff like this can be used and DMs can be leaked and texts can be leaked and used against you in some way.
Oh, yeah, that's right. In South Stream, you said that you would kick Ali's ass. That's right. You did say that. No, Ronnie. Ronnie, you are so violent.
Yes.
So violent. Well, you're not a murderer, Laura, I hope. Well, you never know. There's some crazies in Tasmania.
Just kidding.
A lot of the other hyperbole she would use is talking about killing herself, correct?
I don't know. I didn't see any
You
messages.
never saw any messages about her
You always
killing
feel bad
No, no.
later.
Okay.
Pause
And
it
you
real
know
quick.
that these two women, in fact, I noticed in some of the state's exhibits, when they talk about killing
What's wrong?
Pause.
Jared, much of it is with an LOL.
You remember in the trial David covered, Shannon, that lawyer, for
Shannon
the
Smith.
Crumblies. Yeah.
Yeah.
She said one time she was like all stressed out, moving
Oh,
papers
that
around
was
trying to find. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
Yes.
I'm going to unalive myself in
I'm
the
gonna kill
trial.
myself. He does. You can say that. I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah.
And the
And-
prosecutor's
that's
like,
so
oh my
huge.
God.
Oh no, it wasn't just the prosecutor. Social
Oh, yeah.
media went berserk.
Yeah.
Like
And it was
went
like, she was
berserk.
so obviously frazzled. Yeah, it was a horrible thing to say.
Yeah.
But I understand why, like, it was a crutch. She wasn't trying to make light of the families.
No, but it was a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
It was just dumb.
But it wasn't, she wasn't serious. It was just,
No.
she was trying to like make a joke and kind of deal with
No,
the
she was
stress.
just frustrated. It was just
Yeah.
like it just came out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I mean, people say stuff like that. It was
people
just,
say stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good example.
Followed or some other face emoji. You saw those, correct?
There are a lot of those, yes.
In fact, they like to rip Jared.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's also comments about, there was that section with the alleged co-conspirator, KJ, and then her communicating with Sue.
yeah, prosecutor had a field day with that.
Excuse me. Another woman by the name of Susan Lee, correct?
Yes, sir.
Look, you can always
No.
achieve more.
Hey,
There's still time.
maybe your
Never told
53 is your lucky year.
Maybe.
I believe one of my colleagues did.
Okay. Are you aware that there are no interviews or statements in the discovery having to deal with
Aw,
law enforcement?
My
speaking to
kitties are
Susan Lee?
licking each other.
No.
Okay. Did you read a report by Susan Lee where an officer spoke to Susan Lee?
No, did not.
So she is, as you heard Ms. Stifler argue, an alleged co-conspirator, correct?
believe she was referring to Kim Jensen.
Well, in addition to another individual, correct? This woman. Do you recall that?
I thought she was referring to Kim Jensen.
So you're the lead detective in this case. And you have text messages where they're allegedly looking for a hitman, and they call and they're texting someone. You got it right there, black and white, that they're texting a potential suitor for this hitman. And you never go and talk to the person who is the alleged person who they went to go looking for a hitman.
I believe the time that we were trying to locate her, her phone number had changed, and we didn't have a good address for her, so we were not able to contact her at the time during the messages.
Okay, but just a minute ago, you said that you believe one of your
I do.
fellow officers interviewed her.
I
So
did.
now you can't find her?
I need to go back and check my notes to confirm. I did think that someone did have a conversation with her, but I would need to reference that.
Do you have your notes here today?
No, I do not.
No.
You knew you were testifying in a capital
You-
penalty case.
You were
I brought some notes, yes, but in reference to the testimony that I knew I was going to give,
Well, you knew you were going to testify about Susan Lee, right?
more reference to Kim Jensen.
But you knew you were going to talk about Susan Lee, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't bring any notes having to do with Susan Lee.
No, I did not.
And you can't tell Judge Kite in any way, shape, or form whether any law enforcement officer from Jacksonville Police Department, or excuse me, Jacksonville Beach Police
I love
Department,
it.
or any of the other cooperating officers in this investigation, which included multiple law enforcement agencies,
Oh, how
ever spoke
embarrassing.
with Susan Lee.
As you stated, there are lots of
How
agencies and there are lots of people who
embarrassing.
are helping with this investigation. I cannot tell you right
You
now
know, this is a death
whether or
penalty
not
case,
she was
right?
talked to or whether that
You're
was
reading
in a
notes.
report. That's something that I would need to look into.
Okay? Now, I want to talk briefly about the night of the murder. Staying on the text messages.
Is a judge on her cell phone?
Never mind, I'll drop that.
Oh, okay, I'm pretty sure the judge is on her
Oh.
cell phone right now.
I wrote this out. I might as well ask you about it. Some of the messages about killing Jared included feeding him lard because he had, I guess, high blood sugar or cholesterol. High cholesterol.
Correct.
So,
So she's
you know
gonna
that
what,
was a joke,
unalive him
right?
over 10 years?
I can't speak to their statement.
Do you have any evidence that these women were planning on pinning him down and feeding him lard?
No, I do not.
Okay. So, as a detective, you took that as a joke, right?
No, in fact, I did not.
Okay. Did you take the part about the Easter Bunny being involved as a joke?
Yes.
What about Chris Angel?
I believe they used Chris Angel to prove a point, not necessarily in a joking manner.
Okay. But you don't know that for sure, correct?
That's fair.
And in fact, that's because you don't know these two women at all, correct?
Outside of this investigation, no.
Okay. And in fact, when you spoke with KJ, she in fact told you that this was all, that's just the way they spoke, correct?
Initially, yes.
And we're gonna get to that. But basically that they sit around and they just talk, that this is kind of just the way they talk. And I guess, have somewhat of a morbid sense of humor, correct?
It's great,
Right.
hey.
Now, and these are, as displayed by the evidence that's been submitted, a majority back in 2015, 16, and 17, correct?
That's correct.
You don't have any text messages about hiring a hitman in 2021 or anything like that, or 2020, correct?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, again, and then I did ask you about this already. You mentioned that, I guess it was your testimony that you didn't initially look at Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez as suspects until much later on, correct?
That's correct.
And that's even though Jared's brother came in quite early on, correct?
Correct.
And told you about this alleged hitman statement, correct?
That's correct.
So, she goes to visit Jared's brother and tells him, I'm going to hire a hitman to kill your brother, correct?
Correct.
And that's also in between the time that he was telling you he had a dream that included a premonition about
On
this
the
case,
dream
correct?
and premonition.
That's correct. Well, this was after that was a secondary meeting
Okay.
after the first
But,
meeting.
he wanted you to follow up on leads having to do with his dream, correct? Or he thought it was important for you to for him to tell you about his dreams.
That was correct.
And did you do any follow up?
Okay, that's it. I'm sold. She's innocent. Whenever the state brings in a premonition and a dream, done. Done. It's a big fit up. She's been framed. Whenever they bring in some kind of crap, like someone having a dream, come on now. You got nothing. You got nothing, people. Die, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Die, motherfucker. Come on now. This is BS.
His
BS.
dreams?
I'm calling it.
His dreams,
Calling
the
it
things
now.
that he referred to us were things that were already part of our investigation.
Okay.
Dreams.
So you didn't take that seriously. I take it.
Tell him he's dreaming.
I mean, I'm not a person who analyzes dreams. He thought that they were important to him, and they were referencing things that we were aware of.
Please.
Got it. Okay, so now going back to the night of Mr. Bridegan's demise, Shanna Gardner was at home that evening, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's what your investigation led you to, correct?
Yes.
You were aware that there is not a single text message between Shanna Gardner and Henry Tenon that exists anywhere on this earth, correct?
No, I'm not aware of that.
And of course, you never found any phone call records between Shanna Gardner and Henry Tenon at any point in time.
That's
Ever.
correct.
I'm sorry?
That I reviewed. That's correct.
Okay. How about some other officer from some other agency? Anybody else find ever a phone record between Henry Tenon and Shanna Gardner?
From all of her known devices to Henry Tenon during the time period that we looked at, there were no phone calls with Shanna Gardner.
And in fact, Henry Tenon told you that he never even met Shanna Gardner, correct?
I don't know that he said he never met her, but he did indicate that he had talked through Mario. That his main point of contact was Mario.
Well, let's be clear about that. His sole point of contact was with Mario. And in fact, the only time he ever laid eyes on Shanna Gardner was when she was sitting in a car and they waved at each other, correct?
Ha.
She indicated that she had met him 5 years earlier, but I don't know the total. I don't know what their encounter was.
But
Okay, what he's doing is he's setting this up for at trial. This is all going to get landed on her husband, Mario Fernandez. So Baez is very carefully laying the groundwork for his client never had any contact with the gunman. So the gunman being Henry Tenon, he was a tenant of their establishment, but the establishment was his responsibility. It was Mario Fernandez's responsibility. He was the landlord, and he had contact with this gunman. And even if it is proven that, or if the jury does find that he is guilty, that doesn't mean that she had anything to do with it. So I'm thinking that if Mario goes to trial first, because they wanted to try them together, that would be bad news for her. But if he goes to trial first, and I'm sure that Baez and his team will be watching really, really carefully what happens at his trial, they'll be looking for a way to then change their strategy based on what happens to him. So if he is found guilty, then their strategy changes completely. They need to then go with, okay, so that happened, but she didn't know anything about it. He hated the ex-husband and he ordered the hit. She's completely separate from it. But he's establishing right now that the connection, if there was any connection, was between her husband and her ex-husband. Sorry, not her husband and the gunman. Nothing to do with her. She never even met him, had no contact with him, just a wave from a car at some point because he's a tenant. That's it. Let's keep going.
Fair to say you have nothing to contradict that the only interaction this person had with that person was that they waved at each other a couple years ago.
That's correct.
Now, there is no forensic evidence that, well, wait a minute, Ms. Gardner voluntarily gave you her DNA, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's no DNA that was recovered from any of the items of evidence
Always the
that
vibe.
came back to Ms. Shanna Gardner's DNA, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, you're convinced that, of course, that she was not anywhere near the homicide scene, correct?
That's correct.
And the dry runs that were talked about earlier, you're aware too that Shanna Gardner had nothing or was nowhere near those prior dry runs, correct?
I can't state that one way or another, but I don't have any evidence that she was a part of them.
Okay. And in fact, Mr. Tenon, who you do have access to, told you that that never happened, of course, right?
He never mentioned Shanna Gardner, and as far as the driver is concerned,
And that's something as a detective you would have asked though, right?
of course.
Okay. So fair to say she's not part of that evidence, not part of any of these other things. But let me ask you this. You mentioned this bank account and the money. You're aware that, as we covered earlier, that all the fighting between Jared and Shanna in the courts had to do with money, right?
As you stated.
If I'm wrong, she'll correct it, okay?
You drinking?
Having said that, sir, you're aware that Mario Fernandez became the trustee of that trust, that irrevocable trust, correct?
Yes, sir.
So basically, he was able to move money around as needed, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that account that these checks were written from, there's not one single check from that account signed by Shanna Gardner, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
And in fact, there's no ATM withdrawals where you have Shanna Gardner pulling out money from that account, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And you're also aware that Mario had his own properties, correct?
I know that he individually owns some properties, yes.
Okay. And you also know that they kept separate bank accounts as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think it's your theory, it's the prosecution's theory that this man, Henry Tenon, committed a murder with no payment, right?
You mean he committed it?
No payment up front.
That's what he testified to.
Kind of gave the alleged co-conspirators a pass on that, right?
You have to talk to him about that.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I will one day, but as it relates to this specific piece of evidence, and then the only payment that he received was 3% of the alleged money that he was going to make off of killing an individual, off of killing Mr. Bridegan. Is that correct?
At this time, yes, that's what he said he received.
And he didn't even get that 3% until a couple months after the murder.
That's correct.
And that's when allegedly Mr. Mario Fernandez said, "Thank you for the murder. I'll just cut you a check." Right?
I don't know.
Okay.
you
And
for
cut him a
that
check
murder,
for
sir.
$5,000, right?
I was not present during that interaction. I can only tell you what he did receive.
But that's what Mr. Tenon told you, right?
That he had received 3 checks. The 5,000 of it was for the first payment from the homicide.
Right. And he also told you that he gave him another $5,000, but that was for work, legitimate work that he had actually done for Mr. Fernandez, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's money going back and forth between Mr. Tenon and Mario Fernandez that's absolutely legitimate, correct?
Per his testimony, yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, I see what he's doing.
Now, I want to talk about,
So is it possible, okay, this is just my observation, and you guys tell me if you think I'm right. It sounds like Mario Fernandez, that's Shanna's husband, actually was hiring this man, this tenant, whose name is Henry Tenon, to do actual work around the place. So is it possible that he actually was legitimately being hired, and I don't know why he would have gone around shooting people, but is it possible that these payments were for actual work, and he is just grassing up the rich people
Mm.
because he wants to get a lesser sentence. Who knows? But that the prosecution's side is that he has no motive to shoot this Jared Bridegan otherwise. So, I mean, and that kind of makes sense. Why would he just go and shoot up this guy? I feel like there's some piece missing here. So we'll see.
These burner phones and the iCloud stuff, I'm gonna kind of loop them together if I can. You're aware, because you read the text messages, that Ms. Shanna Gardner, during the course of your investigation, was represented by counsel, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you know that Ms. Shanna Gardner hired a very distinguished legal counsel in this community, correct?
I actually hired an attorney. I'm
I'm
not
aware that
personally,
he's the former president of the Florida Bar.
I'm not personally familiar with him.
Okay, and you're also aware, based on the text messages and your investigation, that he actually took Ms. Gardner's phone from her, correct?
That's what was indicated, yes.
Okay, and that he had advised her, or there's something in the text messages that mentioned getting a different phone, correct?
That she needed a second phone because her phone had been taken to be downloaded, yes.
And that is why there was the issue with the iCloud, correct? She couldn't access, she got a new phone, so couldn't access that, correct?
That is not how I proceeded. I proceeded that she did not want things downloaded to the new phone that were on her old phone.
Okay. Fair to say, in today's day and age, a cell phone is a very intimate thing, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, we don't go anywhere without them.
Fair.
Some people's cell phones might be a little more interesting than others,
Fair.
right? And many people, if not a majority of folks, have very intimate things on their cell phone.
Woo!
And that includes when they use those cell phones to have conversations with people they love, right?
Yes.
They don't want anyone listening in on their phone conversations, right?
That's correct.
And that includes people who are absolutely innocent of any crime whatsoever, correct?
That's fair.
In fact, you wouldn't want me listening in on your phone calls, would you?
Absolutely not.
Okay, you wouldn't want me going through your phone, right?
Nope.
Okay, and you wouldn't want me going through your iCloud, right?
No.
Okay, so
No one wants to see what he's been searching up. Nope.
now I want to talk about
Not
These-
interested.
very damning statements that you talked about that Ms. Tipper put up on the PowerPoint presentation that were allegedly told to you by KJ. When this occurred, this was after she had testified at the grand jury, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. This in fact was in July 2023, correct?
Correct.
And this was a situation where you went to her, or where law enforcement went to her and stopped her outside of a Publix, correct?
That's correct.
And you told her, you need to come with us, correct?
We served her with a subpoena.
Okay. And at that time, you wanted to drive her to the state attorney's office, correct?
Yes.
And when you did that, she didn't want to go with you in your car, right?
She asked if she could drive her own car, and we indicated that she could come with us, and we'd bring her back to her car, and she agreed to that.
Did she went in her car or she went with you?
I actually don't recall if we drove her or she drove herself.
Okay. You wouldn't know if you took her in the back of a police car or in a police car?
It was almost a year ago. That's a minor detail. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, the details didn't turn out to be so minor, correct?
As far as her transportation to the state attorney's office, I would consider that a minor detail.
Okay. Interacting with a critical witness in a homicide is not, right?
Correct.
And you knew that she was a critical witness because you had all the text messages, right?
Correct.
And you knew she was a critical witness because you had in fact spoken to her previously, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that she was extremely close to Shanna Gardner, your number one suspect, correct?
That's correct.
And you get to the state attorney's office and you place her in a room, do you not?
She was put in a conference room, yes.
And in this conference room, there was conveniently several posters and things on the wall indicating that she was a co-conspirator in this case, correct?
Posters.
There were her own text messages.
Right, you put them up there for her to see, and you walk out the room, and you allow her to sit there and ponder why the police are getting her out of Publix and taking her to the state attorney's office, and now she's looking at her own text messages about killing someone, correct?
Correct.
Really?
I saw Ms. Stifler's PowerPoint, and they were just statements in quotes that Ms. Stifler or someone at the state attorney's office put in the computer, correct? I saw that during your direct testimony, right?
Yes.
Okay. We never heard these statements, correct?
Are you saying that I never heard them, or
We
that?
didn't play them for Judge Guy or anybody else here.
No, I do not have. I do not personally have a recording of the statements.
Okay. In fact, she wasn't recorded, right?
To my knowledge, she was not. No.
Wait, you're there, right?
I was there for part of her testimony.
Okay.
I was not in the room the entire time.
Detective Lamont was there, correct?
Yes.
So when you say, wait, you said that you were there for part of her testimony. When you go out for a cigarette, a coffee break, what?
She initially met with the state, and then I met with her, and then we all met together.
Okay. And when she allegedly made these incredible statements about Mario and his ability to commit crimes and the fact that he had told Shanna he was going to kill Jared if he wanted her to, or all of these different statements, neither you nor Detective Lamont ever took out a recording device to record these critical case-breaking statements, right?
No, did not.
Was Ms. Stifler there?
Yes.
Did she take out a recording device
No.
and automatically start recording these incredibly damning statements?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you for real?
Mr. Mizrahi there?
I believe so.
Did he take out a recording device?
Not that I'm aware of.
You all have cell phones, right?
Yes.
Does your cell
Seriously?
phone allow you to record?
Yes.
So, and none of you thought about taking out your cell phone and recording KJ while she's making these case-breaking statements?
No, I did not think it was recorded.
And that was because at this point in time, you take her from Publix, you put her in a room where you're basically pointing the finger at her as being a co-conspirator to murder. You let her think about it for a while. Then all of you started questioning her quite furiously. Wouldn't you agree?
No, not.
Quite nicely?
It was a civil conversation.
Nicely.
Was it contentious in any way, shape, or form? Is what your testimony is going to be.
I believe the contention was the fact that she had initially given statements that were clearly a lie.
According to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, you don't know, well, first of all, we have no way of knowing what she said other than what was put in the PowerPoint presentation.
Shame.
That's different, correct?
Correct.
Did you take notes during this interesting conversation?
I did take some notes, yes.
Okay. And do you have them with you here today?
No, I did not.
No,
Okay. Did you turn them over to Ms. Stifler?
No, I did not.
no.
And as far as the case file and the discovery is concerned, there's not a single record of these conversations ever taking place, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right, just
Despite the
stand.
fact that the most senior people in the investigation and the prosecution were present and received the most damning information to date, correct?
We were there to hear the information, but it was not recorded.
And at no point when things started getting good, you changed your mind and started recording.
No, I did not.
Detective Lamont, is he a senior? Is he senior to you?
No, we were same rank.
Same rank? Okay. Does he have more experience than you?
We were very,
Hope.
we've had very similar experience in time.
Was it his first homicide investigation too?
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, you guys worked together quite a time prior to that, right?
He was in the unit prior to me, so I can't speak to his experience prior to that.
He's never shared with you war stories or any stories about his experience.
Yes, sir.
That was my
No.
first one also.
Getting back to
So polite about it.
the day of the murder, Shanna Gardner you came to find out that Shanna Gardner, in fact, went to Walmart that evening, correct?
That's correct.
And this was while the children were with Jared Bridegan,
Do you buy
correct?
Clorox
Yes.
wipes?
Before I go any further, I want to clear something up. There's no communications whatsoever that indicate that Jared Bridegan, where Jared Bridegan indicated to either Shanna or Mario Fernandez that he was bringing his small 2-year-old child with him for date night,
I don't
correct?
have a bigger.
I
don't have a
believe
cup.
that she was brought as a matter of routine.
I'll buy one for
That's not the
you.
question I asked. Okay? There's nothing that you have in terms of communications or evidence that indicate that he informed Shanna Gardner or Mario Fernandez or anyone close to them that he was bringing his child that evening.
That's correct.
And in fact, you never read any text messages that indicated that he was bringing his child to date night, correct?
Correct.
Now, getting back to the night of the murder, Shanna Gardner went to a Walmart that evening, correct?
Correct.
And this is while Jared is with the children, right?
That's correct.
And he's supposed to return the children at 7:45, correct?
Correct.
And Shanna checks out at the Walmart at 7:20 p.m., correct?
Around them. I don't remember the exact time.
And you're aware that, of course, the Walmart's approximately 15 minutes away from their home, correct?
Give or take.
Okay. And that would, 7:20, check out, you know that from the receipt, right?
Correct.
And let's say she's done, makes her payment, picks up the bags, it's in the shopping cart, walks
Characters
to
on
the
approve.
car, then puts the bags in the car, gets in her car. That's about, that could be a couple minutes, right?
Okay.
So that amount of time plus the 15 minutes puts her awfully close to even not being present when Jared Bridegan drops off the children, right?
She and the kids all indicated that she was in the kitchen cooking.
That's not what I asked you. That puts it quite close to her missing the drop-off, right?
Sure.
And if there's traffic, or she would have been delayed as little as 10 minutes, she would have missed it completely, correct?
I guess it's possible.
She would have missed her alibi had she not evaded on time, correct?
I mean, it's hard to say that she would miss her alibi.
Okay, you won't give me that, right?
No.
All right. But you know where I'm getting at.
I understand what
You
you're, what
won't
you're trying
give
to
me
make.
that.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to, just made it, right? She was very close to missing the drop-off, correct?
Based upon what you stated as far as what kind of mother she was, I hardly doubt that she would not be home by the time her children were being dropped off.
I
Ooh,
agree with you, but it's not, again, the question
nope.
I asked.
I guess it's possible that traffic or a crash or a road closure or a number of delays could have caused her to get home late.
Okay. Now,
Dude, don't argue with this man.
you testified that when the children got home, that they never saw Mario, right?
They stated that they thought they saw Mario, but when the psychologist asked them if they ever actually saw him, they stated, "Well, we think we saw him because his game console was on."
And that included the boy, correct?
As far as I recall, both of them made a similar statement.
Okay. And the purpose of you telling Judge Kaikai, of course, is to show that possible Mario wasn't even there, right?
It is possible, yes.
Okay. In fact, that was the purpose of the statement, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to play that portion of the child CPT interview so we can know exactly what he said. Okay? I can have just a moment, Judge.
Is it one of the exhibits? Mr. Cuddy, is it one of the exhibits?
Judge, it's not, we were unaware, the detective, John can make this, I can burn it to a disk and bring it tomorrow to court for you.
Is there any objection? Ms. Niffler?
So playing just a portion of it on an hour and a half interview, don't have context. I don't have an objection to it. I
Well,
just
you can
have to
complete it.
on it.
If that, like, you can complete it if you want, or play other. Did you alert what you're playing?
Yes, this is the child's.
No, I mean, to this date.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, why don't you-
I didn't do the break. I started waiting. That's where we.
Mr. Cuddy, will you let them know what portion at least sitting in?
We're playing at 1 hour, 23 minutes, Judge.
Okay.
And that's already, Judge. I should have.
No problem.
what did you eat? How was it? And it was all fun and all that. And then we went to bed. And then the next morning, that's when I found out.
Mm-hmm. But when you got home that night, what was your mom doing?
I think she was cooking. She was on the counter texting people.
Okay. Was Mario home when you got home?
Yeah, he plays video games. He was playing his video games at his desk.
Did you actually see him playing his video games, or you think that's what he's doing?
I mean, he had his headphones, he had the controller, and then I heard, oh, right, fire, because we play Call of Duty, the shooting game.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty sure he was. I heard the thing. He had his gaming headphones, he had the controller, so I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay.
And I think I looked over one time after I talked, and then I saw him playing video games.
Okay.
So I don't think he was doing anything.
You heard the child mention that Mr. Fernandez had on headphones, correct?
He mentioned that he had applications of playing a game. He said, I'm sure he was. I think he was. Never at any time did he indicate that he actually saw Mario Fernandez.
I'm going to get to that in a minute, but please try to answer my question. You heard him say that, correct? That he had his headphones?
Yes.
Okay. You also heard him saying that he heard Mario saying, I guess, left, or talk while he's playing the video game, correct?
Did he hear Mario or did he hear the game console or someone else talking in it?
Well, he said, I could hear left, or whatever.
I'm just saying it wasn't clear if he did or didn't hear Mario.
It was quite clear to you when he says that he saw him, right?
No, sir. I did not take that as someone who said that he actually saw Mario Fernandez.
I will just replay that last portion for you.
Okay.
So we're not disputing it.
My name's Casey Leah from the Fish Child Protection Team to go be interviewing Liam.
The body birthday, his baby, what was it?
Did you actually see him playing his video games, or you think that's what he's doing?
I mean, he had his headphones, he had the controller, and then I heard, oh, right, fire, because we play Call of Duty, the shooting game.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty sure he was. I heard the thing. He had his gaming headphones, he had the controller, so I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay.
And I think I looked over one time after I talked, and then I saw him playing video games.
Okay.
You heard that, right? I saw him playing video games.
He said, I'm pretty sure I looked over and saw him playing video games.
You heard that, correct?
Yes, I heard the statement.
Okay. That's different than what you told Judge Hector in the direct examination, correct?
I don't believe it is. I don't think that he was sure whether Mario was there or not.
All right. Now, sir, I want to talk about this arrest of Henry Tenon and the Intrepid, which is the PR firms, that whole testimony that you covered earlier. You recall that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to the night of August 18, 2022. That was the night that you decided to arrest Henry Tenon, correct?
Correct.
Now, the way you did that was you knew he was a habitual traffic offender, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And he was pulled over under a ruse that he was going to be arrested, and the reason you guys were interested in him was because he was a habitual traffic offender, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Then that was at 12 a.m. on August 18th, 2022, right about that time, right around midnight.
No, it was early in the morning.
Okay. It wasn't at night?
No, sir.
Okay. How early in the morning?
It was like 5:30 in the morning, 5:30.
Okay.
I don't know the time. I don't remember the time of the exact traffic stop, but it was very early in the morning.
I'll double check. Fair to say it was 4 a.m., right? Does that sound about right?
Like I said, I don't remember the exact time, but it was very early in the morning. I'll give you that.
Okay. So about this time, you had already gone to several of Mr. Fernandez's tenants and questioned them, correct? You and other officers?
We talked to one other tenant.
Okay. And this is where you first saw the truck, right?
No, sir.
Well, there was a situation where you were speaking to a tenant. Well, I don't know if it was you, but an officer was investigating this case and was speaking to a gentleman who was a tenant, correct?
That's correct.
And that's when Mr. Tenon pulled up at some point, correct?
That's correct.
And there was some questioning about the truck, right?
That's yes.
Okay. And that's kind of when Mr. Tenon got on your radar, right?
He didn't get on our radar until we had located a tire at the house.
Okay. And while you're doing this investigation, and subsequent to you actually arresting Mr. Tenon, you go and speak to one of Mario Fernandez's tenants, correct?
Correct. Mr. Tenon's roommate.
Correct. And that's at 5:30 in the morning, that same night, right?
Morning, yes, sir.
Okay, excuse me, morning. You didn't mention that to Judge Kite, right?
No.
Okay, so you're also monitoring Mr. Tenon's roommate and his communications with Mario Fernandez, right?
We did request tolls for him.
Okay, in fact, what ended up happening was you found out that there was a call between the roommate and Mr. Fernandez at 7:22 a.m., correct? That same day.
I don't remember the exact time, but yes, there was a call.
And
What about?
how many times as a homicide detective have you gone and let somebody's roommate notify that their roommate was arrested?
Part of the reason that we went and notified him is that Henry Tenon was driving his vehicle, and we wanted to give him an opportunity
Not
to
the
retrieve his
question.
vehicle.
Right, but you're aware that as soon as, not even an hour and a half after you notified the roommate, who was someone that you were questioning previously about the truck, that he made a phone call to Mr. Fernandez that same day.
Correct.
And in fact, you told him that Tenon's truck was used in the murder, correct?
I don't remember exactly what was said to him or not.
Okay. You sure you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. Fair to say the reason you did this to get them talking, right?
Huh.
To see where that takes you.
We were not monitoring their communications at the time.
But you were able to go back and check your phone records, right?
Yes, but
And-
Mr. Ordway wasn't using his own phone. He was using someone else's phone to surreptitiously talk to Mario Fernandez. So I'm not sure.
Right, and that's what you found out, right? That he was actually communicating with Mario Fernandez after you guys had gone there and told him that Tenon was arrested, right?
Yes.
And that the truck was used in the murder, right?
I don't know the communication as far as that was concerned. I was not there for that.
Okay, but the whole reason you told all of us, including Judge Kite, that Miss Gardner called the PR people, that they were concerned about the truck, that there's no way they would have known. You conveniently left out the fact that you had actually gone to this gentleman's house and told him that Tenon was arrested and that the truck was used in the murder, correct?
There again, I don't know what was said to Mr. Ordway exactly. But either way, isn't it kind of odd that you would call and let your landlord know that your roommate was arrested?
Well,
What?
remember, I get to ask the questions here.
Ah. Isn't it kind of odd you didn't tell the judge that happened?
Okay. Now, as the detective, of course, you get to review all of the reports in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Including those of your partner, Detective Lamont,
Yes.
right? I want to clarify. I know you seem a bit unsure about whether you guys had informed the roommate as to whether the truck was used in the murder. Remember, you seemed a little unsure of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you Detective Lamont's report?
How about
Where it
that?
says, where it lays it out for you?
Okay.
We'll do that. Oh, dude, you're so far out of your league.
May I approach you?
Yeah.
I almost feel bad for him.
He's down a deep hole.
I want to direct your attention first to the date and time of the report, which is August 19th of 22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And page 2, where it states, the roommate's name was advised Tenon's truck was used in the murder of Jared Bridegan. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether the fact that you had informed the roommate the night of Mr. Tenon's arrest that his truck was used in the murder?
The morning of.
Based on the report you showed me, that yes, the officer did inform Ordway that the truck was used in the homicide.
When you say the officer, you're referring to your partner, right?
Yes.
Detective Lamont, right?
Yes.
Basically, the second, I don't know how you guys do it. Are you guys equal or he's second in command here?
They're both newbies.
I'm the lead and he's the co.
He's the lead.
So fair to say, he's going to tell you everything that he's doing in your case, right?
Yes.
Including something as important as telling a roommate that they just made an arrest on perhaps the biggest case in Jacksonville, right?
It was a busy time for us right then, and I can't say we had just arrested Tenon, and I was not aware of his exact verbiage that he told Mr. Ordway.
And that's not something you normally do, right?
Oh,
leak,
you were busy. I'm
to
sorry.
leak to potential witnesses, critical information on a murder investigation, right? That's not something you do often.
I mean, it was public knowledge that a truck was used in the murder.
Well, it was public knowledge that Henry Tenon's truck was used in the murder, right?
No.
I think based upon the previous interactions that we had had with Mr. Ordway, he had a fairly good idea that that truck was used.
Oh, so you actually, you told him?
It wasn't public knowledge that Mr. Tenon's truck was used in the murder, correct?
No.
Correct.
And that's not something you do. You would agree that that's not good police practice to go around telling witnesses what's going on in a murder case, right?
I think at the time we were looking for cooperation from Mr. Ordway, and so we believed him to be involved in this. So I don't think it was from a perspective of we're just giving you, we're leaking information about our case. It was an effort to gain his cooperation.
So now you remember, and now you have knowledge
And now
of
you
not only the
remember.
fact that you told him about the truck being used in the murder, but why.
I didn't tell him I wasn't there. I told you that.
Okay. But now you know why. Now you're recalling why, right?
Oh, well, now you remember.
I am saying why it's likely that the officers told him that.
And you knew before you took the stand today that Mr. Ordway had called just an hour late. Well, actually, he made several calls immediately, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Fernandez didn't answer the phone, right?
I don't remember exactly.
But the third call
I
was
remember that now.
a 38-minute conversation, correct?
Sure.
Okay. And you knew that conversation occurred before you took the stand today and told us that there's no way that Shanna Gardner would have known or Mario Fernandez would have known that the truck was used in the murder. When you, in fact, had advised a witness of such a fact, correct? You knew that before taking the stand today.
Mr. Ordway was advised of the truck. No, I did not know that before today.
You didn't know.
I did not know that specific conversation happened until you showed me the report.
How could you not know?
You just said
You
a
just
moment
said.
ago that it refreshed your recollection that in fact occurred, correct?
No, sir. You indicated that. It did not.
And you agree with me, sir?
No, sir.
So you said, no, I don't, that doesn't refresh my recollection?
I'm indicating you that Mr. Ordway had knowledge of this case and that us telling him about the truck was not the same as their leaking information. I did not have specific knowledge of what you showed me, or did not remember what you showed me until you showed it to me.
You're lying. You just said it.
So you're essentially clarifying your prior statement when I asked you if it refreshed your recollection as to whether police had notified Mr. Ordway of the truck being used in the murder, right?
I did not remember reading that before today, is what I'm saying.
Now, you would agree that this report was turned over in the course of discovery, right?
Yes, sir.
And that, of course, the prosecutors would have this information, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. I wouldn't have it unless they got it, right?
Correct?
You don't give me reports, you give it to me, right?
That's correct.
So before taking the stand and making a representation that there's no way Ms. Gardner would have known that the truck of Henry Tenon was used in the murder at that point in time of talking to the PR people. It's not true, is it?
You're asking me to know what Ms. Gardner does and doesn't know. So in other words, I can't speak to that.
You were never questioned in any way, shape, or form about you or Detective Mormon or any other detective going to visit Mr. Tenon's roommate at 5:30 in the morning to tell him, hey, your roommate's truck was involved in the murder, correct? You weren't asked a single question about that, right?
About telling Mr. Ordway that?
Yes.
No.
No, I could have answered that already. I knew he was going to say no. Okay, we have to close it up for the day. Wow. Okay. Here's, this officer, detective, whatever he is, if he's still going to be a detective after this, who knows? He is well out of his league, being cross-examined by Jose Baez. Yep, that was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. How much longer is he on the stand? Let me just check. Not too much longer. Yeah. Gets his ass kicked for, I don't know, another 20 minutes or so. Yeah, and this hearing has a couple more witnesses. Yeah, so we'll do this again tomorrow. And there is another short hearing that we can have a bit of a look at. And then there's going to be an evidentiary hearing, guys, on the 25th of June.
Nice.
And hopefully we'll get to see Rosemary Peoples in action at that one as well, because I think that should go for a few days. So I think they blocked out the week for that one. So
Wow.
yeah. They spoke about it in the short hearing that happened just 3 days ago. So I posted it onto the Discord for you guys to have a look at. It was not much happened at it apart from that. So that's going to be really interesting. There should be a lot more come out at that one. So 25th of June for that one, but tomorrow we'll do the rest of this, and if it doesn't go for very long, then we might just jump onto something else. So it might be a bit of a this and that tomorrow. Are you doing Ali tomorrow, Ali? You got more Ali?
Yeah, I'm gonna do something tomorrow. Probably Ollie or
Yeah.
maybe the Kanye trial or new motion or not motion, but lawsuit.
What's going on with him?
I just got the lawsuit. It's like 25 pages, sexual harassment, and a woman that was like his business manager. He offered her $1 million to leave OnlyFans and work for him. And she's alleging that he said a lot of naughty things.
Oh, he said naughty things.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He
breeding.
Called his member racist because she's white, and also asked her about the size of other men.
Oh my God, he's Mark Jensen. He's Mark Jensen. Kanye and Mark could be friends.
Yes, there were some parallels to Mark Jensen in this lawsuit.
Oh, dear me. Okay, this is very interesting. All right, so we could have another Pinafesto. A Kanye Pinafesto.
We can only hope.
Pina-Yay Festo.
Pinay.
Pinay Festo.
A nice pinay.
A pinay. Better than calling a law trooper dickless. Well.
Oh, I don't know what that's about.
Oh, I don't know what that's about. Also, can we stop saying law troop? It's so dumb. Like, it's just such a gay term.
Yeah, it's true
crime. Does anyone else think it's gay? Oh, true crime is also gay.
Well, Nick Rekieta certainly does.
I just find the whole term law troop to be really, really lame. Like, it's
there's got to be a better name.
We got to come up with a better name for it. Like, I don't know. I suppose there's not much of a better name, is there?
Yeah.
Kanye being controversial, well, there's a surprise. Yeah. But the problem with LawTube is that you got to be a lawyer to be a LawTuber.
Yeah.
Right? But then the only other thing you can be is a true crimer. And I don't want to be a fucking true crimer because true crime is a drama. Llamas.
Well, have you seen some of the lawyers recently?
Well, there's that too.
there's more drama with the lawyers than a middle school girls volleyball team.
That's true. They're all menstruating all over the place.
I know. Good Lord. Like all the lawyers' menstrual cycles have synced up at the same time. Barnes and Rekieta, and they're all, going after each other.
No one's going to even...
Nose guarding.
Barnes is going to have no one like following him soon because he's going to have blocked everybody. So he'll have one. Like, so.
I think he blocked Sean most recently.
Did he block Sean too? Oh, well. Of course, Sean's really upset. Yes, please stop saying LawTube. It's stupid. I agree. It just sounds really gay. I call it LawTube. It's been too many years. I know it's like that though, isn't it?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trial tube sounds good.
False
I like
crime?
trial tubers. Let's start that.
That could work.
Legit, let's start that. Trial tube. How do we start that?
We just say it.
We'll just start saying it. Hashtag trial tube.
Yep.
You're brilliant, half Irish.
You are.
You are actually brilliant. You own that now. You own that. And we're clipping this moment. The moment that the word trial tube was started,
Trial
and that was
tubers.
by you, half Irish. We are trial tubers.
Better than trial two bins.
Yeah. Trial tubers is inclusive, and it's not drama.
See, Nick would like trial two bins.
He would like trial two bins. Well, he belongs on trial two bin. Actually, no, he doesn't, because he doesn't do trials.
Well, not anymore.
No, that's
he's gonna get back. He's gonna do Karen Reed.
No, he's not. He doesn't do trial. He doesn't do trials. He can't find a trial good enough for him. Or that pays enough. But anyway, we'll see. Well, maybe one day he'll do trials again. It'd be good if he did.
He should.
It'd be good if he did. Lots of people would love that. Anyway, Nick is what? Lord Tube. That's cool. The moment trial tube was birthed from YouTube's vagina. I love it. Trial tube is great. I love it. That's a really good term. Yeah, it is inclusive, and I feel like it's different to true crime, because true crime is a lot of just talking about cases but not watching trials. So not interested so much in testimony, not interested in following like the real guts of like the documents and the like the boring parts, like the witnesses and the coming and goings of the hearings and things like that. Whereas true crime is very much like gossipy sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, and not all of them, but like if you were to go and look at like say for example the crap that's going on with Sebastian Rogers' case, that's the true crimers. The true crimers are the ones that are really feeding all that drama. I don't like being called a true crimer. That's just because those people are stirring up all that stuff. There are some really good ones. Yeah, they're guilty, but they're also like, oh, guess what so-and-so said on that stream, and then guess what so-and-so called that other person out on what they said on that stream, and then on that other stream. Yeah. And then the actual creators become the story, and I don't think that's right. When they
I consider Brandy true crime, but I also respect her.
Well, see, the thing is with Brandy, like she calls herself true crime, but she's become a lot more like I would put it more in this trial tube now. Yeah. Because she streams trials and she comments on them, and like she's actually quite open-minded to both sides. So I think I'd put her more in that.
She's come a long way, I think.
She has come a really long way. Anyway, yeah, she does trials now. She's grown a lot, yeah. Dramatization, when I think of true crime, I think of that too.
Yeah, she's not drama.
No, she's not. No, I've not seen her get involved in any drama. In fact, when people start try and start drama with her, she shuts it down.
Oh, I think her chat sometimes like picked drama with Dylan when he first started, but then she kind of was like, "Nah, I'm done with it."
Nah, and she's cool on her own, which is good.
Yeah.
We need receipts. Anyway, so everyone and their dog is watching Karen Reed with Sean, and fair enough too. Sean's amazing, and I haven't gone and hung out with Sean for a while. So anyway, he keeps streaming at times when I'm asleep, you know, and that's fair enough because I'm, you know, over here in the future. So let's go, Rachel. Let's go, Rachel. Let's go do that.
Yes.
All 10 or 12 of us, however many of us are here and not already over with Sean. So let's do that now.
13.
Thank you guys for hanging
exaggerate.
out. Yeah, 13, whatever. But I appreciate every single one of you. You're
Yes.
all awesome. And
Love you.
everyone who's already over with Sean, fair enough too. Fair enough too. Lots of people hanging out over there. So let's go say hello, Rage. And yeah,
Mr. and
I'll
no.
go catch up on Karen Reed too, because I haven't been watching it. Let's go. Oh, hang on. One more thing.
In the land down under, where kangaroos roam, there's a lady named Hella with a heart of gold.
Nice nipples.
Exciting utterance in her
Oh
name,
dear.
whispering secrets,
Bye guys.
lighting up the flame. Dolly